were addicted to food,
Sugar mostly, but yeah.
addicted to sugar,
Hmm.
and binge eating, right? Binge eating disorder. Were you ever diagnosed with
Yeah.
binge eating disorder?
No.
Okay, so you were always just told sugar addiction.
Hmm.
You've, and you feel that you, when you came to me, you were like, this has been since I was like a child,
Yeah.
super young,
Yeah.
and you've been to therapy groups,
Yeah. You name it.
you name it, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's, what would you give the, well, anyways, you never really fully recovered, right? You would go without sugar for a little bit and then binge, and you were, describe your symptoms before.
Um. Well, my main thing was trying to just abstain,
Hmm.
and eventually, I mean, I think the longest I'd gone was like 2 months, but
Did
eventually,
you think about food all the time?
mostly treats, but yeah,
Well, yeah,
not
I
so
need
much
to
food, but
reframe that. Did you think about sugar and candy and sweets and cupcakes and chocolate
yeah, yeah, especially chocolates, like really like sweet cakes, stuff like that.
and anyway, so you've been to hypnotherapy, therapist, blah blah blah. So we are now 2 weeks into this,
Yeah, to be.
3 weeks into it, and how are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm just so blown away at how easy it's been. That how when you, because if you had asked me, I would have bet everything I have on. Yes, I am totally addicted. You put sugar and fat together and some concoction, and I cannot stop. Like I can't. But and I was convinced, like, and if you separated the two, it was a different reaction. Like I wasn't that addicted, but the two of them together was extremely addictive for me, and I've been so amazed at how when all of a sudden I'm not worried about having to starve myself on some type of diet or to abstain from those foods, and there's no shame connected to those foods. How I can have, like, in fact, just this last weekend we had my brother and his family over. Um, I had made this blueberry cobbler. I had a little bit served out a dish for everybody, and it went back in the kitchen, what was left, and I didn't even think about it again, whereas before I would have been constantly thinking, okay, it's in the kitchen. Do I wait till everybody leaves to finish it? Can I go get a second chunk now? I'll offer to take the dishes in so then I can grab another scoop. I mean, it would be constantly on my mind, and I mean, I didn't even think, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about the blueberry crisp afterwards. And then
Hmm.
today we were celebrating something for me at work, and they brought in a cake, and I had a piece, and I didn't have time to go for lunch, but I had another piece, but it wasn't because I was thinking about it. I was just like, oh, I'm really hungry for lunch. I don't have time to go for lunch. I'll just have a piece of cake. But it wasn't like there was nothing that made me want to go back. It was just like there's no the sense of urgency of needing to eat it right away because I'll never get it again.
Then the other thing is, I'm assuming, is it didn't, you're not still thinking about it. It doesn't hijack
Yeah,
your thoughts for the rest of the
yeah,
day.
yeah. I can
Where
actually
you're
work and not
now
think about it.
obsessed about getting more of those
Yeah,
treats until, I mean, all the way up until the moment you go to bed, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So are you,
yeah.
and it's, so what does it tell you with this experience that you're eating all these foods that previously with your, with a different way of thinking about it,
Hmm.
that now you're eating these foods and you're not having anything close to those symptoms. Same food, same fat and sugar combo, same
Yeah,
celebrations, same angst, same irritability with the kids, same everything, but yet
yeah,
how is your mind after you eat those foods? You
yeah.
haven't
I mean,
changed anything except for how
yeah,
you think
yeah,
it about it, your way of looking
yeah.
at this.
They're not consuming my mind anymore. They're not on my thoughts, but I'm gonna get more. I'm like sitting up trying to think of strategies to find more, get more without letting people know that I had more. Seeing if I can sneak some without people seeing me. I was consumed by thoughts like that, and they're all gone. Like
Are you
they're just.
surprised that that the route to this recovery was
Yeah,
through body acceptance.
Yeah, in fact, I haven't shared this with you, Robin, but one of the things that was pretty emotional for me was years ago, actually, with a therapist. I went through this visualization meditation exercise, which was quite powerful for me. But one of the things I envisioned at that time was me meeting my future self, and I was really happy to see that my future self in this sort of trance. I know you talk about this out of body experience you've had, or whatever, but this was it for me, and I was so excited to see myself. I was slim. I was wearing black pants, this black top, but my present self asked my future self, "Well, how did you do it? Like, how did you get there?" And for me, this is almost like God speaking to me, but it was, and this future self looked at me and said, "You just need to love yourself. It's all about loving yourself." And for years since, I've been thinking that God's been really mean to me because He told me, I know how to love myself. What do you mean love myself? Of course I love myself. I don't get it. And for years, I've been compulsively buying every book, trying a different therapist, trying a different diet, trying to figure out, well, what do you mean love yourself? Like, I just don't get it. Of course I love myself. I don't understand. And finally, this weekend, try not to cry here, I got it.
Yeah, it's loving yourself without any conditions. That's the difference. Like when you say I love myself, it's like, well, no, you probably didn't, because under the conditions you weren't loving.
Right. It's loving
you
yourself
have to love
without,
as a failure. You got to love yourself as a flawed being. You got to love yourself, from the heart, not from the facade or I think a common illusion is people think that to love themselves, they have to meet these cultural, social ideals around the way we look and the way we act, which is not really love, is it? That's loving the system. I love the system. I love that I meet the system. I love that I am conforming to the system, and it's very temporary, very fleeting, and it's not necessarily holistic or compassionate, and it's like a little ray of sunlight. And when you realize that true love means you love flaws, it doesn't mean you have to want flaws. It just means that you accept flaws and you love, and you're worthy of love. You're worthy of being wanted, even if you suck, right? That's the route. So many people, and then when you get there, then the whole sun shines. The whole entire sun opens up to you instead of a tiny little ray of sun. It's like, oh my God, there are no clouds. I created clouds to the sun, by thinking I want to be thin. I want to be physically attractive. I want those things, and you create conditions around what you don't want, right?
Right. And that's what I think before I was setting these boundaries. Okay, if I love myself, I don't feed myself bad foods. If I love myself, I don't.
That's the diet industry's brainwashing.
Right. And so I had it. I mean, that's what I thought it was, to be good to myself, meant that I need to be doing all these other things.
Well, and who is telling you what bad food is? And why are they moralizing it? And why is that if I love myself, I have to be pure and perfectionistic? I have to be perfect, right? You don't hear that, do you? That's what we're taught. If you love yourself, you'll follow the rules and you'll be very strict, because strictness is love. It's really twisted.
Yeah, but it makes so much sense now. It's like, I love myself. I can have a piece of cake if I feel like having a piece of cake, and it's okay, and it doesn't keep calling my name afterwards.
You haven't done anything wrong. It isn't defining you. It doesn't define the day. You aren't a horrible person. Your body isn't unhealthy and diseased now because of it. And have you noticed that because you have changed your perception with the body you have right now, which is 275 pounds, that you're loving yourself in a 275 pound body. You notice that because of that, how you are relating to food is dramatically different. This is why I believe the diet industry is the real block for a lot of people because they are teaching you that you're a sugar addict without questioning how you relate to your body image and how you're relating to others in your body, how you relate in your family with your body. Those are the things we've talked about. We haven't talked about sugar at all. We haven't even discussed what you should and shouldn't be eating. It's all been about your body image and the importance it was for you in relation to yourself, your mom, your dad, your family, your history, your current community, and really giving you the freedom from the shackles of having to fix it. And the hardest part, don't you agree, is letting go of having to fix it for yourself. Actually going into, can I love my life, love the way I am, even if I'm uncomfortable physically? The hardship getting into an airplane, we talked about that last time, that you might have to get an extension. Are those things worthy of shame? They're not. Do you feel how much more loving that is towards yourself?
Yeah.
And by giving yourself that love, it immediately reduces the strain that you've had with food.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing.
I know. It is amazing because the issues with food were so huge before. But they were as equal, wouldn't you agree, that your issues with food were ultimately really how you were compensating for your issues with your body and your lack of self-love and self-awareness and grace and lenience with yourself, forgiveness with others. Like all that rigidity around the body basically projected onto the need to restrict food, which ultimately ends in a continuous need to, overfeed. And then it becomes a snowball effect. As you get bigger, the pressure gets worse. Don't you agree? So many people don't understand that. They don't get it. They see someone that's 250, 300 pounds, and they just assume you don't give a shit and you're lazy and you don't want it, isn't that just the total opposite? Like they don't understand how much pressure that you're putting on, to the point of suffocation, to the point where your brain goes haywire, like can't think straight.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just don't get it. That's why, again, you have to forgive people who judge you because they just don't have a clue.
Yeah, and you know what? That happened this Saturday. Another big test for me was my mother came over with my stepfather, and I mean, typically my mother, especially when I'm at her house, sends me for binge, not just my relationship with her. And this time she's at her house, she hadn't seen me for a while. I got the look of, oh, you've gained weight, or you're still large. And this time I just looked at her and thought, oh, my poor mama.
That she loves you. That's love.
Yeah, she loves me so much that I mean, a little part of me felt bad that she feels that, but she has to feel this way. But I thought, she's just so conditioned herself that she doesn't realize that, that she thinks I need to be this way for me to be accepted into or to have pride or whatever.
Yeah,
and
that's how she feels. And
she doesn't get it, and she doesn't get it. And so the same thing happened that day. We had a big dinner. We had all these people over. Ate. There was dessert afterwards. I had a little bit, and I just didn't feel like eating anymore. I thought, wow, this is amazing, absolutely amazing.
Don't you agree? The way you're feeling, though, like the way you felt with your mother, that is amazing.
That is amazing to me. Yeah.
And how that ultimately removed this need and angst with food. Have you noticed that food is almost gross for you at this point? Do you start to get repulsed by it at all in any way?
Yeah, well, I have to say, recently I was thinking, well, maybe I should do the HCG protocol. I thought, I don't know how I handle those 2 gorging days. And I thought, oh my gosh, did I say that? I remember looking forward to those 2 days.
Yeah. I would not, honestly, I would not recommend it right now. I don't think you need it. Right now is not a good time. That doesn't mean that in the future, near future, you might. right now why would you want to leave this space so quickly?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to leave it right away? You want to let it go now, or do you want to stay in
No,
it?
no, I totally want to stay here.
Yeah, I mean, again, I want to go back to that question. Have you noticed that food, it doesn't mean you're not eating, it doesn't mean that you don't get hungry, but have you noticed that it feels like too much? Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
is that
Totally.
surprising?
Yeah.
Hey,
That's because one, I'm eating a lot slower too, which surprises. I mean, I enjoy my food more too. I'm full. I know I can sense the fullness versus just shoveling food in.
mm-hmm.
And
How are you physically feeling because of that? Have you noticed now that it's been a few weeks of this consistently?
Yeah.
How do you physically feel?
I feel. I mean, I have to say, part of the transition for me is like I have been eating foods that I wouldn't typically allow myself before,
Yes.
and although I'm not overeating them or binging on them, I'm still having some of. I'm starting to realize like my body doesn't really love it when I have, like, for example, wheat isn't really. I mean, I'm okay, but my stomach feels a little bit upset afterwards. So there's been times where I'm like, now I can hear my body saying things like that, whereas before I would just eat so much I couldn't even hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you still need to listen. Yeah. And it may not be the wheat so much as it is the quantity of what you just ate, or maybe you're not, for whatever it is, or it could be the wheat.
Yeah.
But more than likely it's quantity dependent.
Yeah.
So, but nothing, I don't even want you to think about those things. Like, just listen to your body. Don't think. Your mind needs to be given a break. Right? So keep it simple. Give yourself grace and lenience, and continue to learn. One of the things that I've observed consistently with people who come out of the gates with this process, who were binge eaters or sugar addicted or whatever you thought you were before, okay, compulsively overeating or binging, is that when given the freedom, most people come out of that and they're afraid to restrict that stuff, because before, the restrictions would create this feeling of anxiety and panic, and right, so there's somewhat fear and trepidation around any form of restriction. So if the cupcakes are there, I'm going to eat it, even if I don't necessarily want it, right? So the decisions people are making when they come out of this is kind of like a compensation. I've been restricting these foods, I'm going to eat them, even if you're not necessarily feeling like it. You've noticed, though, that, like, even we talked last week about going to sushi with your kids, and that your son wanted that Oreo and you were like, I don't want it. That was awesome. What you'll find is that as you've been giving yourself more and more freedom, and those foods are never going away again, ever. I think that has to become real solidified for you, is that I will never again restrict these foods the way I was, ever. They're not bad. I don't have to feel ashamed of them. I don't feel like I've done something wrong. They're not worth feeling like I even guilt about eating them. So I don't have to eat them all right now. I can eat that later. I can have it some other time when it actually sounds good to me, because it's never going away. It will always be available to me. So as you start to really feel kind of that dust settling and that relaxation around the reality that you will never restrict again, you'll notice that your food choices naturally start to become more dynamic. It's variable, variability in the food choices. You may actually want to have a salad that sounds good to you, and you'll put what you want on it. That doesn't mean that you're on a diet. It doesn't mean you're eating healthy either. It just means that you're kind of naturally gravitating to what sounds good. Maybe some fruit. Maybe you really just want a sandwich. You'll just notice that the overall kind of way of eating is going to start settling. And so even if you came out of it like a wave, you know, and the wave is more sugars and sweets because you've been denying that, that's fine. You'll notice that after that wave, that's what I meant by, have you started to notice you feel kind of grossed out by food?
Yeah, I mean, there was one night where I wanted just ice cream for dinner, and so I got like these 2 ice cream sandwiches, and I was fine after that, so I didn't eat more. But I was just like, okay, that's what my mind really wanted, but I didn't feel great.
Yeah. Okay. See,
This
this is not wheat, by the way. It's just that your mind was directing what you were eating versus how you felt. That could have been an emotional compensation for some type of victim position you were taking, if you look back. Or it could be just fear of restricting what you had a craving for in that moment, and you're afraid to restrict it. So as you're coming off of this, it's important that you give yourself time to really start to feel safe and sound with food in its permanence, the freedom's permanence, right? So I think too, with a client like yourself that was not just skeptical but worried this wasn't going to work, and really kind of desperate for this to work, you're coming to realize that this is far easier than you probably anticipated it being. But in that feeling of the other shoe's going to drop, right? That feeling of the other shoe's going to drop any day. And again, going through a weekend like this past weekend with your mother, with all of those actual binge triggers that you used to have, and having absolutely no response to it. The fact that your kids were driving you crazy, asking you to do things late at night, and you started to have that feeling of victimization, and you caught yourself, thought about it, was like, oh, no wonder this is where this comes from. I'm feeling resentment over always having to be the responsible one in the family, which stems from my childhood. Oh, and then you kind of got over it, right? You're in a totally new space. You need to stay here, and you need to really get relaxed. And now that you know that the other shoe isn't going to drop, that this is real, this isn't just some like voodoo magic that's going to go away. Learn what this feels like to live in this space. The longer you sit here and learn it, the more it becomes part of the way you're going to be for the rest of your life. Once this becomes natural, to where there's no thought in it, it's a natural way of being, that's when we're going to talk about the protocol. Okay? Because if you just got here and you're just now learning this, if you jump back into a very restrictive protocol, I guarantee you're going to relapse. Guaranteed. You'll be binging within a week of the protocol. Now, it'll never be the same. It's kind of hard to unknow this stuff, isn't it? But yeah, I've seen people relapse back into feeling victimized by the restrictions. You will feel the same exact resentment that you felt before around being restricted. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's sort of like, wow, I can have whatever I want, and I think there's definitely going into something where I would go back the other way, restrict myself, even though I know that it wouldn't be a diet this time. Like, I know that it's just, and the only thing that makes me think about it is I'm so grateful to my body, because considering how like this up and down roller coaster I've had with my food and how I've abused it, it's been quite good to me. But I do know that my adrenals are kind of shot, and I would really like to reset my leptin.
Yeah, well, hold on a second. You don't need the protocol to do that. Just so that you know, your body actually right now, just by the fact that if you can stay stable in what you're doing, your body can heal quite a bit on its own. You don't need the protocol. The protocol would be awesome. It is awesome, but let's give your body a chance. I mean, you're going right into forcing your body into kind of an extreme shift. Give your body a chance to make some adjustments on its own. Let's not, let's just chill out with the protocol. I'm just telling you right now that even that thought is inaccurate. Because you've changed your way of being with the adrenals. Your whole state of mind, we just changed.
Yes.
Does that have any relevance in how the adrenals can recover?
Absolutely.
Then why not let that adjustment in your perceptions, and you're no longer fearful of rejection about it? Let's let that give your endocrine system some healing. Why go right into a forced, extreme, rigid form of protocol? So even if this was scientific, okay, I wouldn't recommend the protocol until your body hits a natural stable point. Let it adjust on its own. Once it hits a stable point and you're very, very stable in this way of being, to where you've experienced this state of being under a variety of different changes, like seeing your mom and traveling and all that stuff. Once you've experienced a variety of different ways of living or life, and you're staying in this state of being, and the body has kind of found its at a point of equilibrium, that would be a good time to do a round. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to continue to do what you're doing. Continue to be honest with yourself around hunger. Continue to allow yourself the freedom to choose what you want, but why not be less mental about it? Now that you've kind of had your mental compensation, you've allowed yourself ice cream for dinner, you've allowed yourself all of this experience, which is important. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's actually part of recovery. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Now see how it settles. Why continue to create waves when there's no need to? Just let it stabilize.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and it does, and relax around it. Don't have any expectations. Again, if it's really a loving relationship that you're going to have with your body moving forward, should we make demands right now about what we should expect from it?
No.
Mm-mm. Should we put it on a protocol to force it to do something that we think is better for it?
No.
I would agree. That's just like you're going right back into force. Let's just relax and let nature handle itself right now, where you don't have to make any sacrifices. I think the biggest issue with people jumping in the protocol too quickly, especially after this type of recovery, and I've seen this enough, is you're the one who's been held hostage. You're the one who's been abusing yourself and abusing the body, and you're the one who's been under this pressure and angst. Let the body heal itself for a while, and why don't you just take a break? I'm really suggesting not doing the protocol for you. I don't think you should do the protocol right now. I think that's the last thing you need to do for yourself, is add work for yourself after you've just recovered from decades of insanity. Chill out. In a year from now, are you going to be like, oh my God, I'm so pissed I didn't do the protocol in May and didn't in July. I should have done it in May.
Yeah,
no. No, you're not. Just chill. If you put pressure on yourself, you're more likely to relapse right now than, it's like so relax.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to lose what I've got. It's way too cool.
Well, it's way too cool, and it's the state of being that will allow your body to heal itself without a protocol. It don't necessarily need the protocol for it to work, for your body to be recovered.
Yeah, that's cool.
So just relax. Again, in 5 years from now, go back to your out of body. What is it going to take? Love yourself. So really connect with that integrity of that feeling, and now you tell me what you think you should do right now about your weight and your adrenals and your endocrine system.
I guess just let my body figure it out.
And love it as it works.
Love my body as it is. Yeah.
Isn't it kind of
And
nice to know it's not
and
your
it's responding to
responsibility?
that already. Yeah.
It is already. It's not broken.
Yeah.
You just need to learn to listen to it. So again, you had your compensation. Why don't you just relax now around, you can have all this stuff forever. You can have donuts forever, sweets forever, cakes forever. It's never going away. So why don't you right now kind of establish like, well, how do I want to be able to eat on a regular basis? Eat when you're hungry, eat enough, focus on putting food on your plate and actually enjoying a meal and make it special. And then when hunger is gone, you don't need to get to full or uncomfortable. Are you learning that naturally as well, that getting full is uncomfortable?
Yes.
So stop a little bit sooner. Could be just 3 or 4 bites sooner. You can have those 3 or 4 bites later if you want it. Just put your stuff in Tupperware.
Okay.
That's the other thing to think about is I can always finish this later. I don't have to eat it all at one sitting. I can eat it in 3 sittings if that's
Right.
what happens. So it's not going away. You can always get more. If you want to go to that same restaurant, get the same thing again every day, you could. You don't have to eat it all right now. So that, again, relaxing into this is, I think, really where you just need to be. And then you know what? Let the body do its own thing. Just ignore it. Make it not your business. Your adrenals or your body's adrenals, not your business. Isn't that a good feeling? Like, why are you taking that ownership again? I don't think you heard that when you said that, did you?
I think it was more like I want to, I'm so grateful that I just want to do something good for my body.
You've already done it.
Yeah.
You've already done it. The best thing you can do is keep yourself out of its business. Just let it do its own goodness. Let it do good for you. Why don't you just sit back and chill? The last thing you need is pressure. Am I wrong?
Yes, no, you're right.
I know.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Just give the body space to just do what it's going to do. Don't have any goals. So you're not allowed to have a goal around what you think your body should be like and where it should be and how it should feel. You're to just love it, live in it, accept where it's at. Constantly adapting to how it feels. If you don't like feeling uncomfortable or full, then slow down and stop eating as much when you get that feeling, when you can kind of anticipate fullness. Try that. Maybe that's your next step right now. It's not a protocol. It's just maybe when you're eating, when you are hungry, anticipate that fullness and stop ahead of time. So that maybe that's your only thought right now with food. Is when I'm hungry, I'll eat. And I'm just going to be very conscious around when I've had enough. I can always have more. I can eat more later. I'll put it away. I can go back to it if I get hungry. That's not an issue, right? So give yourself that type of lenience with the quantity of food so that it allows you the relaxation to stop before fullness.
Because that is something I've been struggling with. I mean, I definitely eat full, not.
Okay, so let's try that. Let's just try it out and just be very present and mindful as you're eating. And a practice I think for you that you need to be telling yourself is that you can have it later. If there's some left over, put it in some Tupperware. If you get hungry again, you can come back to it. It's still going to be there. No one's going to take it away.
What do you think about when it comes to being hungry? I mean, should you be waiting for certain signals? Like I have a friend who says she only eats when her stomach growls.
Yeah, growling is not the answer. Hunger is a sense of urgency. It's a time constraint. Like you'll feel like I got to eat soon. It's actually kind of painful. Stomach growling is not hunger. Okay, that could be gas.
Should you be waiting until that point in hunger?
No, you want to wait until you feel that you're definitely hungry. So you can tell I am hungry. There's no question. But you're not so hungry that you are agitated, irritated, short-tempered, where it starts to affect you emotionally. That hunger where it's like hangry, the goal is that you're hungry and you're confident you're hungry, but you still have some patience to fix food, to sit down, to have a plate, to make a place setting. That you could eat slowly, have conversations with people. As you get hungrier and hungrier, you're going to notice that, again, time becomes the time focus in the brain becomes really evident. Where I need to eat now. I need to eat fast. I need to get rid of this feeling immediately. It's like an immediate pressure with time. And that's something you just need to, again, let yourself get hungrier too. I think that's an important thing. Now that you know there's enough food, it's not going anywhere, you're at that point in our conversations in your recovery where we're finally talking about eating, right? It's kind of cool. You just need to give yourself a learning curve. Like you're learning this for the first time in your life. I don't expect you to be perfect. You shouldn't expect yourself to be perfect. You're learning a whole new sense. The body's had this sense the entire time. It's not broken. You just never gave it relevance. It was always a mental decision around you shouldn't eat this, you should eat this, I need to eat at this time, I need to eat that much. It's always been a mentally constructed concept. And now we're using this entire physical concept. It's a physiological concept. It's like biology. It's like the same urge I feel when I got to go pee. I'm like, oh my God, I'm learning how to go pee instead of peeing in my diaper. It's kind of like that type of learning curve, right? The muscles of urination, you've got muscles of hunger in your brain, and you've got to learn those signals now that you're allowed to. So let yourself get hungry. And I use the hunger scale. It's like a hunger scale from 1 to 10. So hunger is to me 1 to 5 and fullness is 6 to 10. It's like an upside down U curve. And, hunger, or like a rainbow, and you want to be at the top of the rainbow. You don't want to be slide down either end too far. If you get too far, that's too much hunger, or on the other side, it's like extreme fullness. So you really want to aim for nothingness with hunger. So allow yourself to get hungry on the hunger side so that you can get a sense of what's the difference between a 1 and a 2 and a 3, a 3 and a 4, a 5, which is indifference, right? Yeah. A 6 would be I'm satisfied. 7 is, I'm starting to feel a little full. I'm still comfortable, but and an 8 is when someone says, oh, I'm full. They're an 8. A 9 is I'm in pain. I got to unbutton my pants and I need to lay down. A 10 is I'm going to vomit. This is I'm in pain, like extreme pain. I might need to go to the doctor. So clearly we want to avoid 8, 9, 10. And you also, on the scale of hunger, on the other side, you want to avoid, if you can, 1, 2, and 3. You want to stay above the 3. 3 would be I need to eat now. Fast food. Below that is agitation, irritability, short-tempered, starting to have symptoms of low blood pressure, extreme lethargic kind of energy drop. That means your thyroid is starting to go down, to the point where you hit a 1 and your hunger is gone and you're just like hunched over and you have no energy. And, anorexics love that feeling. So you want to eat around a 3.5. A 4 on the hunger scale, if a 5 is kind of nothingness between 5 and 6, a 4 is the sense of, oh, I think I'm hungry, but I could wait. We should maybe start fixing food or setting the table, or maybe if I'm at a restaurant, this would be a good time to order my food so that I have, 20, 30 minutes to wait for it to get cooked and presented. So a perfect time to eat is between the 3 and the 4 on the hunger scale, right? Before you get so hungry that you're like not chewing your food properly. And then you want to stop eating around a 6. Okay, some people stop at a 5.5 because there's lag to how the body's responding to that food as it digests. You'll notice you stopped eating a half hour ago and you're starting to feel even fuller. So you got to learn how your body is responding to food. So you got to learn that.
Okay to snack just to take some of the hunger away.
I wouldn't suggest a ton of snacking only because you want to have hunger. So it sounds like you're afraid to be hungry.
Well, I've done stuff, everything from like intermittent fasting to fasting.
Yeah, get rid of that whole concept. Just this is not that. Or we could say this is intermittent fasting between your hunger. You're fasting between hunger. So when you're hungry, you eat, and then you fast when you're not hungry. And then when you get hungry again, that's when you eat. So you could call that intermittent fasting between hunger.
But when you get hungry for a meal.
Yeah, and sit down and eat. And make it like, it's like telling your brain and your body, I'm actually taking care of you. We're going to sit down and we're going to eat. It's going to be fun. It's going to be delicious. And I'll eat enough. And I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to be full because it hurts me too. I feel that. And then if I get hungry again, I can come back and get more. So the snacking is often what I see with people who are afraid to be hungry. Oh my God, I don't want to be hungry. Oh my God. So they just eat randomly and they're not even that hungry. You're more likely to get sick that way.
Yeah. I actually, before, most of the time, it was when I was trying to control everything, not eating was the easy part. When I started to eat, then I'd get scared because then I'd lose control.
Yeah, well, that's understandable because you're not allowed to eat. You probably felt like you never should eat. Like eating for you is a sin at all times. Doesn't even matter if it's healthy. That would make sense. So now that you're recovered, you can kind of forget about all that and just enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a whole lot easier than what you used to do, isn't it? Yeah, and there's room for you to chill and relax. That's the funnest part is you can actually taste the food now.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I used to be such a fast eater, and now it's like, oh, that's the last one to finish again because I just want to, there's no need to rush.
We just want to enjoy it. Yeah, and the relaxation into it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So learn to eat this way. Give yourself variety. I'm not even going to tell you what you should and shouldn't be eating. That's never going to happen. You just need to allow yourself to figure this out. Think in terms of like if you were to start a whole new life, how would you want to eat? And what types of food? Wouldn't you want to give yourself diversity?
Yeah.
And so give yourself a diversity or a wide range of choice when it comes to food consumption. It's the sweets and the treats, those are always going to be there. And if that is the case, is that really what you want to eat all the time? Probably not, because it makes you sick. It makes everybody sick if you eat too much. The key is the too much part of it. So allow yourself to know that they're always there. You can always have it if you want it. But if it doesn't sound good, what would you rather have? What actually sounds good to you? Is it tacos? Is it another sushi night? Maybe you just want a bowl of cereal. Maybe you just want a salad with avocados. Maybe you just, who knows? You give yourself the freedom of all of that. And just sit down and be conscious of how the body's responding. And I think right now would be a good opportunity for you to always just in your mind think, I want to feed this body the way I would if it was my child's body. I want them to be hungry. That's when they should be eating. I don't want them so hungry that they're irritable, agitated little jerks, right? But I also want them to sit and enjoy the food and have diversity and eat until they feel that they're comfortable. Don't eat till you're in pain. Don't go to fullness. That's too much. You can always have it later. And then move on. So that's kind of where we're at. I think that's where you need to stay for until we talk again. Just keep on practicing this mindfulness and keep on practicing mindfulness around that victim position that you are starting to see. I'd be surprised if it stays very long, but it could be circumstantial too. Like your kids, recognizing these things and being okay with it and forgiving yourself for being this way. How do you feel, all in all?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, I'm just so grateful. Like I'm starting to feel like I'm like a normal person, even though I not have the perfect body or whatever. I just feel it just frees up so much of myself to not be consumed with food choices and food, trying to strategize around food and wanting to eat. And I am getting to the point now where it's like, okay, if I want ice cream for dinner and I have sweet dessert every time after every special meal, but I'm starting to get to the point where it's like, I don't know if I really want that
That's
anymore.
what I meant by, are you kind of starting to get grossed out yet? Like, good, here we are. So
I'm starting to get there.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean it's going away either. That's the coolest part. Just because you're starting to get grossed out by it does not mean that we're getting rid of it. It just means that maybe on the list of food you have as an option, that's not what you choose right now. You can maybe have it at the next meal, maybe tomorrow if it feels like it. Maybe it doesn't matter. It's never going away ever again. So you don't have to eat it right now.
Yeah.
Just go with it. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, my dear. So let's get you scheduled to talk here. It's what, Tuesday? Maybe we'll follow up on Friday. We'll see. Okay.